Welcome to episode 104 of Cougs on Cougs. I am Jess and this is Mary.
Hi.
And we have an NIT game to talk about.
Yay!
At least it was a game, but it wasn't a win. So that's kind of a damper on things, which means the season is over.
I know.
But that's okay. Let's start with our quote of the week.
Yes, our quote of the week, it doesn't actually, we don't have credit for this. It's just a general quote, but we liked it. It says, failure doesn't mean the game is over. It means try again with experience. And I think you'll see that experience is going to be a theme for us throughout this episode. It's one reason we do really like the NIT game, and we'll get into that. But before we get into our first segments, we did want to talk about on our show the fact that Jess is leaving me.
Do we have to talk about this?
I know, it's the worst. So
the worst.
Look at our tweet for our official statement there. But this could be our last show. We will probably have a show next week. Stay tuned.
And try to put it together.
Yeah, but Jess is kind of busy with, getting the move together.
Crazy right now. No, it is exciting. My husband accepted a job at the University of Cincinnati, which is a cool place. BYU played them in football a couple years ago.
Yes. We have some good friends there. We did a Along the Trail segment about Cincinnati.
I was actually going to say, from when Dwayne Wallace came on, I had a pretty good sense of Cincinnati. I remember saying that we wanted to go there and visit and do some things we talked about. So I got to do that when we went out house hunting.
And how was it?
It was actually pretty cool. It was a cool city.
Good?
The ice cream was amazing. The stadium is really cool because it is right in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
I had no idea that Oscar Robertson played basketball for Cincinnati. There's a big old statue of him right outside the basketball arena there.
Yeah.
And they've been top 10 for most of the season. So unfortunately,
have.
they lost yesterday or on Sunday. So they're not in the Sweet 16. But it's kind of cool. You've got Cincinnati and Xavier in the same city, so I'm excited for the college basketball.
Oh yeah,
at least.
there will be really great college basketball. Everyone pray for Jess that she'll be able to stay up for our games, though.
Eastern time zone. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, so we are bouncing around some options. We're thinking about trying a podcast or seeing if we can somehow do video together.
We definitely want to keep
even though we're
going
apart. Yes,
somehow.
So in one way or another,
out.
But bear with us and be patient with us, and we hope to come up with something. And like we said in our post, our social media accounts will be up and running. We'll still be there to talk sports, BYU sports with you guys. So that's kind of our update. And just thanks to you guys for watching our show in its current format, and it's been really, really, it's been a good run. So on that sad note, now we have to talk about a loss. Coaching from the couch, we obviously, we played Stanford, and that was in the first round of the NIT, and interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure BYU was legit the last team to get an at-large bid to the NIT, and a lot of people in the latest, right before the selection show, they weren't in the projections. BYU wasn't, but because Georgia chose not to participate, and their loss was our gain. I mean, we'll still call it a gain, going back to that experience theme. So we got in, we were the 6th seed, Stanford was the 3 seed, which meant we played at Stanford at Maples Pavilion. That was an 86-83 loss.
It looked closer in the end than it maybe actually was.
Yeah, which is
good,
typical of BYU. I'm not sure what to say about that.
We gave ourselves a chance almost in the final
we
seconds.
totally did, and that could arguably be a what went right if you're into moral victories, which we are definitely not right now. Just by way of information, Stanford advanced to play Oklahoma State, which would have been a very tough game if BYU had advanced. Stanford did lose to Oklahoma State in double overtime last night, so we lost to Stanford. Stanford is now out of that NIT anyway. But let's talk about what went wrong. So, Coach Tyler, what went wrong for you in that NIT loss?
I feel like a broken record saying this, but the three-point shooting is just so bad. I mean, I'm trying to, I don't know, part of the season is a blur, but trying to think back on what games did we shoot the three really well.
You have to think back very
far.
far.
To think really hard. We shot 22% from 3 against Stanford, and I think we shot 27 times and only made 6 of them. So that's not a good number. That's a lot to be shooting and not making them. I feel like it's not just this season. I feel like this is probably the 3rd season in a row we've talked about this.
Yeah.
About how the three-point shooting has not been good. I mean, I miss the games when you'd have, Chase Fisher go off for 7, 8, 9, 10 threes. You'd have Zach Celes go off with a bunch of them.
Yeah. Just reliable 3-point shooters.
Too few and far between. It has been for a long time. So something needs to improve there.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing we're going to get into a little bit later. For me, I hate to say this because it comes down to so much more than this. But missed free throws lose games, and that's been one of our mottos for the entirety of the show. But especially when you lose by 3 and we miss 6 free throws, come on.
That hurts a lot.
Make 4 of the 6 and you win. So, and you know, especially even when we made that late run, to not be making those free throws down the stretch is just maddening. So we shot 60%, which is not terrible, not great. We were 9 out of 15. No. And what makes me most upset about that is it wasn't guys like Luke or Peyton or the bigs who were missing their free throws. Elijah Bryant missed 5 of those 6 free throws. Everyone else made theirs.
Right, and he's the guy that you want to be shooting those.
Something changed, and for me, it was after he got that head injury at LMU, and I don't know what happened, but his free throw shooting has not been the same since then. So maybe I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist or something. But for him to miss 5 when we lose by 3, I'm not blaming him because, hello, we're not in that game without him.
He did score 28 points, so it's hard to blame him.
Right. But we call them free throws for a reason. So that's my what went wrong. Let's talk about what went right. There were some good things to take away from that loss. What about you, Coach Tyler? What was good?
The first thing I want to say real quick is that we at least kept it close, kept in it. We didn't look nearly like we did against Gonzaga, which was just deflated.
Thank goodness.
But for me, it's just that we had 19 bench points in that game. I mean, people talk all the time about one of the reasons that the NIT is good is to get your team experience and get them out there. I thought Rylan Bergeson came in and played great. He had 7 points, had some great defensive plays.
That block. We need a gif of that block.
Yeah, we do. So you had some guys coming off the bench that did pretty well. And I think also just the fact that it's another road game against a Power 5 team. Stanford is a good team. They have a good arena, and so it's always good to have that kind of experience.
That we would have never had an opportunity to play them otherwise. So.
Yeah, and I do think if we've learned anything from the NCAA tournament, maybe BYU will schedule a little bit differently, and they'll have some more opportunities to play road games like that in big arenas next season. So I think that could be helpful. Yeah,
Dave Rose did allude to that, and I think especially with this young team, the experience is just priceless.
Even
totally.
If you lose, get in there and do it.
Exactly. For me, I'm gonna pinpoint the technical foul that Coach Rose got in the 4th quarter. So it was about 6-7 minutes left in the game, and we can't even remember exactly what he got mad about. It was after a foul on Stanford, so I don't know if he wanted the foul to be worse or if he was reacting to something completely different. I don't think he even said necessarily exactly what it was about. But he got mad and he got a technical foul called on him, which was frustrating because we were down a lot and to give them the opportunity to shoot those fouls. But what happened was we got back in the game.
Yeah, and so, down 14.
Yeah, I have never really been a member of the technical fouls are good camp until I saw BYU make that run almost directly after that technical foul. And I think that, you know, if one guy can get a fire lit under his butt like that, especially if it's your coach, right? Then then you want to go to battle. There's coaching from the couch till next season.
So we've got the end of the season for basketball, and we want to wrap it up with a 3 things segment. So we do this every once in a while. This time we're going to talk about 3 things, 3 takeaways or hopes for next year's BYU basketball team and what that season might look like. So what's number 1?
Yeah, so just kind of our wrap up and a couple things that we really want to see. For me, especially, I want this offseason to be different. I feel like in, coordination with, we haven't had these 3-point shooters for forever. It's because we have them and then they leave. Everyone leaves. So I want to see this core stay the same. And the thing is, I think everyone thinks it's going to, but I worry that they might be putting the cart before the horse And or maybe I'm just paranoid and I think that this offseason is going to be like every other offseason, but it cannot be if we want to be a better team next year. I need our core to stay the same. We need Elijah. We need Yoli. I think you need, TJ. I think you need Jashir. You need those guys to stay. And if there's a little bit of changing on the fringes, that's all right. But you know what I'm talking about. Every offseason for the past 3 years, the season ends and people are just gone. And another reason I'm a little worried about that is with Heath leaving. I hope that was just a really good opportunity for him and not a sign of deterioration within the program or who knows. But yeah, I don't want to see a mass exodus.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, if you're going to have a chance, any kind of chance at beating the Gonzaga St. Mary's of the conference, and even more importantly, probably the sub 200 teams in the conference,
you have to develop people within the program, which is, Gonzaga does that like it's their job, and that's why they have all these amazing people coming off of the bench, because they can retain these guys, and
they build them up, and that's what you need. I mean, you need Elijah Bryant and Yoli Childs back.
Yeah,
you need those guys.
That being
to be
said,
your superstars.
We expect both of them to test the NBA draft waters. It would be a surprise if neither of them did, but you hope that they both do it without an agent. Then they both come back, because even if you lose one of those two,
nobody pulls an Eric Mika.
You're back to square one. So anyway, that's number one. What about number two? I almost called you Coach Tyler. We basically are coaches right now.
Sure,
so
we're still doing this. For me, the offense has to change. I mean,
sticks in the mud.
We talked about at the beginning of this season about how we really wanted the defense to be better, and it was. The defense was better.
Be careful what you wish for, though.
The flip side of that is that the offense was worse.
Yeah.
So you still had basically the same problem as last year.
Yeah.
Just reverse,
directly
basically.
Opposite.
So you really have to hope that maybe with Shoregon, with whoever's going to take over the offense and run it, that they find some way to play to the strengths of the guys that they have. And if that's getting out and running and shooting in transition, all that kind of stuff, playing fast, let them do it.
Yeah.
And then hope that some of those defensive principles stick enough that, you can play some decent defense while still scoring some points, because we struggle with that.
I think we really need someone who can come in on the coaching staff and help them get the ball moving, because there were some games where it was just unwatchable, and 6 for 27 from 3.
No, bad.
No. And then our third thing of 3 things, senior leadership. So we talked about kind of hoping that our core stays the same, but in addition to that, Jess and I were talking about how these teams in the NCAA tournament, which we watched all weekend, all these teams that are making runs, all these Cinderellas, they're not just no ones from nowhere. They're teams that have, retained their talent and built it up within their program. And one thing they all have in common is that they have this strong group of senior leadership. And so next year, Elijah and Luke would be our only seniors. Would Braden Shaw be a senior?
I don't even know.
We should have a few seniors, whereas this year we had none. And if we can get that core of guys who have been with the program to, put the team on their shoulders and really bring that leadership into it, I think it would help us.
I definitely think it would help us. And just the fact that, that they've been together with these same guys, they've played against these same teams. Even last year we were talking about the same thing, because the 2 seniors that you had were both injured and missed most of the last half of the season. So I think it's really important that you have guys that have been there before,
battle tested,
that have been battle tested, that know what needs to be done, and that can light the fire into the other guys too.
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a mid-major. Yes, we're not Duke. We're not gonna get 5 freshmen,
we're not even
one
Gonzaga.
and dones that are gonna we are not even Gonzaga. So the workaround for that is stuff like your senior leadership. So I think that would be really great. We both think that would be a really important thing to see change within the program.
And can I say too, it's always hard at the end of the season because you want to focus on the negative things because you've come off a loss.
We're bitter.
But there were some really good things this season, and there were some really fun games. That St. Mary's game I'm going to remember for a long time. The Utah game from earlier this season.
Yeah.
There were some fun moments. So
And it really could be worse. I was thinking about this, and teams like Wisconsin, who was in the Final Four a few years ago, they didn't get invited to the NIT. So every team has down years, if you want to call this a down year, but it could be, we made it to the NIT.
It's so weird to call 24 wins
a down year.
That's insane.
But I know, and we agree. We also feel frustration that we're not in the big dance, because that's always the goal, but just try to keep in mind that it could always
it's still
be
fun.
Worse.
That's all I'm saying. It's
exactly.
still fun.
I totally
Don't forget
agree.
that it's still fun.
So there you go. Tweet us your takeaways and let us know what you think. But we're already excited for basketball next year. Who are we kidding? Talk of the town this week. It's always a little fuller when we skip a week, right?
Right.
So we start with some pretty big news out of basketball, which we alluded to. Coach Schroyer has accepted the head men's basketball coaching job at McNeese State. This is officially from BYU Basketball. Vanquish the Foe actually had rumors of this the second the Stanford game had ended. It sounds like something that had been in the works for a little while. So like I said, I hope it was a great deal, good situation for him and his family, and we're grateful for the contributions that he gave to BYU basketball this year. And
BYU football plays them next year.
Yeah, I saw Gregor Bell tweet that maybe Heath could hitch a ride and come visit when they come play us. So
that's
maybe
funny.
so.
What are the odds? Sad news is that Dalton Nixon had surgery, so he got injured after that at the very end, I think, of that Gonzaga game.
No one even noticed.
No, well, we were too depressed with the loss.
But I wasn't. Yeah.
Anyway, had surgery on his shoulder, and which is such a bummer. We needed him in that NIT game.
Yeah, that very well could have been a what went wrong. Is that we didn't have Dalton Nixon. We sure could have used his rebounding.
That kid has the worst luck. I'm sorry, Dalton, but hopefully he gets 100% this offseason and no more injuries in his career. That would be amazing. But
please. Also, news from the basketball team, Zach Celes is engaged. I think her name is Katie. So I would imagine that they'll get married in the summer, and congratulations to Zach.
Let's move on to some former Cougar basketball news. Jamal Collinsworth made his first NBA start with the Mavericks, which is incredible from where he went. He was in the G League, whatever it's called, for a while. Moved out, played with the team that he loved as a kid, and he made his first start, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, really cool. Love to see that.
I would love to see his hair different. So.
At least it's not in cornrows anymore, right? We wanted to share this piece from the Deseret News about Jimmer Fredette. I took the time to read it. It is a longer, in-depth piece, but I think it's really worth the time, and it just made me, it was different than other Jimmer Fredette pieces because it was romanticizing him, but it was kind of like, look, this is his life now as a star in China, and it's not what he wanted, but it kind of talks about him coming to terms with it and just, the stark reality of his career not, well, you could call it not panning out, but in some ways you could call it anyway. It takes a bunch of really interesting looks at it.
He's definitely made the most of that situation in China,
for sure,
and they love him as they should.
Yeah,
which I'll never get tired of Jimmer articles ever.
No, and it always just tugs at my heartstrings because Jimmer does say in there that their season's over. If an NBA team wants to pick up a hot 3-point shooter for the playoffs, then please call him. I will never stop asking. Anyway, so go read that article. It's worth the time.
Let's go into football. Spring ball is still underway.
Yes.
We did get some news that Dylan Colley is going to be back at BYU, transferring from Hawaii. Back home, little brother Boston calling,
Yes, of course.
So, and he seems excited about it. Very few times in life do you get a second chance. Can't wait to be back at Brigham to take advantage of what the coaches are giving me the opportunity to do. So, I'm also excited about that. It's always nice to have an experienced wide receiver on your team.
And a collie. Always nice to have a collie on your team as far as I'm concerned.
Very true.
So, he did great in Hawaii, and hopefully, he'll love being back in Provo. And, everyone's tweeting the Puff Daddy song Coming Home, and it's all, majestic and stuff. So, hopefully that carries
It is exciting.
Carries on.
I am happy about that.
Okay, this is... I don't know the word for it. I think it would depend on who you ask, but this is from Dick Harmon. He said, talk about dedication to his causes. Offensive line coach Ryan Pugh witnessed his wife, Kathy, delivering a child at 3 a.m., then guided BYU O-linemen to a spirited performance in the Cougars' first full pad practice just after sunrise this morning at the indoor practice facility. So, first of all, he got zero sleep. Second of all, his wife had a baby, and he was pretty much like, see you later, gotta go to practice. So,
I imagine he made sure everything was fine first.
I
he
hope
was
so.
probably only gone for like an hour. But.
Yes, but still, that sure is. I think that they probably would have let him out of it if he would have.
Yeah, that would have been a good reason to miss work that day. But
yeah, so Jess and I have a hard time getting excited about spring ball, but this is the kind of dedication and excitement that I like to see.
BYU football tweeted this out. We have a new Cougar outside of the team locker room at Elias. And this is pretty intense looking Cougar. Like, if scary. We see the embodiment of this Cougar on the football field this season, I will be happy.
Look out. So. I always love the new, the blue lights and all the new decorations, stuff like that. So yeah, I like it. Cool. I'm excited to see it in person. Reno Mahe, who has been very active on Twitter lately, he said that his oldest son, Jeff, received his mission call, a week or so ago. So he's going to Chile, and it just blew my mind that Reno has a son old enough to go on a mission.
I wanted to share this since we are in the middle of March Madness. It's kind of funny talking about it after the fact.
Yeah.
But March Madness centerfold for Bag of Cats for our friend Karen and for Gabby.
Because they like cute coaches, but we just like the picture.
Right, so these are Virginia's two head coaches, Tony Bennett and Bronco Mendenhall.
I just feel like I always forget that they are in the same orbit.
Oh, I don't.
You don't? It was like when I saw this picture, I was like, whoa, they know each other.
Crazy. Virginia just made history in the worst way.
In the worst way.
But yeah, it's pretty cool that they're together. I mean, that Virginia is a good school, and they're on the up and up for sure. I mean, historic season for Virginia.
Shout out to the Retrievers, though. We loved that.
But yeah, it is cool to see them together. It's always fun every once in a while to see Bronco pop up.
So as for what's next, we don't have anything. So hopefully we'll see you next week. Yeah, keep up with, you can get all the spring ball updates on Twitter. There's baseball games going on.
NCAA tournament.
Yes, watch that. But as far as BYU football and basketball, we're quiet for the time being. Spring game on April 7th, I guess, but we still got a couple weeks to go before that.
We are brought to you this week by Cougar Nation, who won that $100,000 for Coach Rose for the Cancer Center on campus, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's all you guys. Shout out. And our second sponsor is Gonzaga. We haven't talked about them this whole broadcast. They are headed to the Sweet 16. Again, yes. So we just wanted to thank them for representing our conference well and, earning us some more money. May you always stay loyal to the white and blue. For Jess, I'm Mary. We'll see you next week.